The story begins with a reclusive young woman, yanked from sleep by the relentless honking of a car below. She sighed, got up, and peered through a hole in the cardboard over her window to see the car. Next to it, a high school student was walking. A man's voice from the car told the girl to get in. The woman then shifted her focus to an apartment across the street, where a neighbor was smoking. When the neighbor noticed her peeking, she offered a smile. But the young woman, a hermit, recoiled and slammed the cardboard flap shut, sealing herself off. As it turned out, the reclusive woman's name was Hyun Hup. She was dealing with a supernatural burden she called an S-line, a crimson thread emerging from everyone's head, connecting them with anyone they had been intimate with. Most people had more than one red line, and Hyun Hup could see them all clearly. Hyun Hup remembered an incident from when she was a little girl. She had seen multiple red lines coming from her father's head. While one connected to her mother, others stretched toward other people, including her aunt. A drawing she made of what she saw led her mother to the discovery. The revelation caused her mother to snap and stab her husband to death. Racked with guilt, Hyun Hup believed the event was her fault and knew her ability was a curse. She had tried to end her life multiple times, but inexplicably survived each time. This cycle created a new ambition: to find the reason these red lines existed, see if anyone else shared her knowledge, and find a way to break free. Later that day, the neighbor from across the street, a woman named Hee-won, rang Hyun Hup's doorbell. She had just moved in and wanted to offer a friendly greeting. Hyun Hup refused to open the door. The woman introduced herself as the new neighbor and had brought fresh fruit as a gift. After a one-sided chat, Hee-won left the fruit by the door. Only after the coast was clear did Hyun Hup open her door, grab the bag, and take a bite of the fruit. Elsewhere, at a police station, a man had started his shift. This was the same guy from the honking car, Ji-wook. He confided in a colleague, sharing concerns about his niece, Siona, the student he'd been trying to give a ride to. Ji-wook, a handsome and charming man, was a bit of a player and flirted with a female colleague who was about to get married. At the same time, at a local high school, a group of bullies was cornering a girl on the rooftop. The group's leader, Ha-young, arrived holding a mop. The bullied girl was Ji-wook's niece, Siona. Ha-young had been trying to get money from Siona and threatened to toss her off the roof if she didn't pay. Siona, powerless, had to do what the bully demanded. Later that day, Ji-wook and his colleague, Dong-sik, were investigating a crime scene. The victim, a woman, had been killed in her house. Ji-wook noticed that though the house was a mess, the bedroom was neat, as if someone had tried to clean it up. He found a food box from a little-known restaurant, suspecting it might hold a clue to the killer. A little while later, another detective arrived with new information. A witness saw a man in a helmet enter the victim's room the night before her body was found. The man looked like a delivery guy. Ji-wook felt this person had a critical link to the case. The investigation revealed the victim had a boyfriend she had just broken up with. Ji-wook told Dong-sik to investigate the ex-boyfriend. That evening, Hyun Hup opened her door to grab some packages. Tucked among them was a bag of apples, another gift from Hee-won. While eating an apple, she started watching the news. The report was about the murder Ji-wook was investigating. In the background of the news footage, she saw a man in a helmet hiding behind a wall, eavesdropping. A chilling thought hit her. The man had only a single S-line, a huge red flag that made her suspicious. Soon after, the same man in the helmet appeared near Hyun Hup's apartment building. Hyun Hup rushed to find her phone to call the police, but the battery was dead. She plugged it in, her eyes locked on the man. She watched him enter the building across the street and then walk into Hee-won's apartment. Her phone came to life and she dialed the police. As she talked, she saw that Hee-won was not in danger. The man was her partner. Realizing her mistake, she hung up, but one question remained. Why did the man's S-line only connect to Hee-won after they met? This event triggered her past trauma. The next day, still hurting from the beating, Siona skipped school. Ha-young assumed Siona was avoiding school because she hadn't brought the money. Ha-young went to Siona's locker and pried it open. Inside, she found a paper bag with a bingsu and a love letter. Meanwhile, Ji-wook got home and found Siona's absence strange. She asked him for money, and he noticed the bruises on her face and body. He pressed her, asking what happened, but Siona refused to tell him and locked herself in her room. A little later, while Ji-wook was smoking, his phone buzzed. It was Dong-sik, who said someone had called the police about the helmeted man. Dong-sik noted the caller seemed to have inside information, since the detail about the helmet hadn't been leaked. Dong-sik revealed the caller was Ji-wook's neighbor and told him to check it out. Ji-wook went to meet the caller, Hyun Hup. He rang her doorbell and knocked, but got no answer, though she was standing on the other side. A man with glasses from upstairs told him the girl in that apartment was a recluse. After the man left, Ji-wook knocked again. Hyun Hup finally opened the door a crack. He questioned her about the call. Hyun Hup admitted she saw a helmeted man enter apartment 204 and thought he was the killer, but realized he was the woman's boyfriend. When Ji-wook asked why she was home when she should be a student, Hyun Hup got flustered and slammed the door. Later that evening, the helmeted man appeared again. This time, he walked into Hyun-hup's building. Hyun-hup peeked through the hole in her door. For a moment, their eyes met and the man seemed to notice her. Meanwhile, in another part of the city, Siona sat alone, looking anxious. She got a message from Ha-young, a reminder to bring the money to school. Siona saw an old lady come out of a bank with an envelope stuffed with cash. The need for money pushed her to follow the old lady into an alley, planning to snatch the bag. But a group of men walked by, and Siona backed off. At the end of the alley, she spotted 3 boys from her school who were the boyfriends of her bullies. At the same time, Ji-wook and Dong-sik were at their office. Dong-sik said his investigation turned up another suspect, the victim's ex-boyfriend, Young-min, a math teacher at Siona's high school. On top of that, Young-min lived across from Ji-wook. Dong-sik showed Ji-wook a photo of the man, and Ji-wook recognized him as the guy he talked to outside Hyun-hup's apartment. Sensing a lead, they decided to investigate, but Ji-wook got a call and left, telling Dong-sik he'd catch up. As it turned out, Ji-wook's call was from a hospital about his father. He rushed over and learned his father was missing from his room. Ji-wook had a gut feeling and found him on a balcony, sitting on the fence as if to jump. For a split second, Ji-wook seemed to freeze, hesitating as he watched. A team of nurses arrived just in time and got him down. Meanwhile, Dong-sik had gotten to the suspect's apartment. He rang the doorbell with no answer, then tried the doorknob and found it unlocked. He stepped inside and found the apartment empty except for one room painted an unsettling red. Just as he was calling Ji-wook, the suspect, Young-min, attacked him from behind with a metal bat. Dong-sik tried to fight back but was overpowered. Ji-wook, realizing his partner was in danger, raced to the scene. A little while later, Dong-sik was tied to a chair. The suspect, Young-min, put on his helmet and went to meet his girlfriend across the street. Hyun-hup, watching from her apartment, recognized the danger as Young-min walked toward the neighboring building. She knew things were about to go wrong for Hee-won. She grabbed a kitchen knife and stepped out of her room, moving down the stairs, trembling. The moment she stepped outside, her legs gave out, her vision went black, and she fainted. Her sunglasses, which she wore to block the S-lines, fell from her face. Young-min met Hee-won, who was surprised to see him. It was revealed that Young-min could also see the S-lines and had seen that his girlfriend had tons of them, proof she had been with other men. Furious, he attacked her, his hands closing around her throat. But just then, Hyun-hup, having pushed past her fear, arrived. Young-min, seeing Hyun-hup trembling with a knife, calmly confronted her with a smirk. He took the knife from her and stabbed Hyun-hup, leaving her bleeding. He then turned back to his girlfriend to finish what he started. Soon after, Ji-wook burst onto the scene. He saw Hyun-hup's sunglasses on the ground. He sprinted upstairs, found her apartment door open, and saw a huge conspiracy map on the wall. Looking across the street, he saw the scene. Hyun-hup wounded in a pool of blood while Young-min choked his girlfriend. Ji-wook pulled out his gun but hesitated. It wasn't until Hyun-hup moved and stabbed Young-min in the thigh that Ji-wook got his chance. As Young-min lunged to stab Hyun-hup, Ji-wook fired, and Young-min was shot. As Young-min took his last breath, Hyun-hup heard him mumble about the lines disappearing. A realization dawned on her. Young-min was talking about the S-lines. Later, the ambulance arrived. Hyun-hup realized Young-min had been able to see the S-lines too. She remembered him instinctively reaching for his glasses during the struggle and guessed they might be the key to seeing the lines. After the ambulance left, Ji-wook walked over to Hyun-hup and asked if she was okay. Hyun-hup told him she was fine. As Ji-wook asked her to come to the station, his niece, Siona, appeared, seeming to already know who Hyun-hup was. That night, Ji-wook confronted Siona about the bullying. Siona told him to mind his own business, declaring she only needed his money, not his concern. Then, Siona dropped a bombshell. She knew Hyun-hup. They had been classmates in middle school. At dawn, Hyun-hup was on a rooftop when she got a message from an unknown number. The sender claimed to know about the S-lines and told her to come to school. That day at school, after Ha-young had already found the love letter, Siona found the empty paper bag on her desk. The bullies had set everything up to embarrass her. Unable to hold back her anger, Siona snapped and fought back, lunging for the letter. The fight was broken up by their homeroom teacher, Jujin. Jujin took Siona to her office and asked why she started the fight. Siona, defiant, wouldn't talk and left school. Just before she went home, she checked her locker and found a pair of glasses inside. Ji-wook had to deal with an irritated Dong-sik, who was not happy about being ditched during the investigation, which led to him getting beaten up by their suspect. Dong-sik laid into Ji-wook about his actions, but Ji-wook explained he was busy putting together a report on their latest case. Dong-sik shot back that the perpetrator, Young-min, was dead and that the case was closed, so there was no point in digging further. Ji-wook, however, felt that something was off about Young-min's motive for the murder. Dong-sik argued that Young-min had a record of dating violence, which was the reason he got fired from his teaching job. But this new information just made Ji-wook more unsettled. The question that bugged him was, why would Young-min wait an entire year after getting fired to commit the murder? On top of that, people had overheard Young-min talking about salvation, which was strange since he wasn't religious, adding to Ji-wook's suspicion. To investigate, Ji-wook decided to go back and check out Young-min's apartment again. While investigating on his own, he made a discovery. The room where Dong-sik had been tied up wasn't painted red. It was covered, from floor to ceiling, in a web of red lines that coated the walls, a callback to the S-lines. Back at home, Siona tried on the glasses she'd found. A single, shimmering red strand appeared, floating above her head. Not long after, Ji-wook got home, and when Siona, still wearing the glasses, looked at him, she saw a shocking sight. Many red lines were sprouting from his head. Horrified, she bolted outside. She finally understood what the lines were, a connection between two people who had slept together. At school, using her newfound ability, Siona noticed something else that was strange. Her homeroom teacher, Jujin, had no S-line above her head. For a woman her age, this was an anomaly, indicating she had no sexual experience. Then, she uncovered that her bully, Ha-young, was having an affair with their literature teacher, Mr. Sung-jin. That same day, after getting a message from an unknown number, Hyun-hup showed up at that school. She became a new classmate to Siona and Ha-young, putting them all on a collision course. That morning, Ji-wook was still focused on the Young-min case. He was looking over a school brochure with Young-min's picture on it when he noticed something. Young-min wasn't wearing glasses in the photo. This made him question how Young-min could have seen the S-lines. He rushed to the evidence storage room to look for Young-min's glasses, but they were already gone. Ji-wook's investigation brought him to Siona's school. When he walked into the teacher's room, Siona's homeroom teacher, Jujin, spotted him. As a concerned teacher, she pulled him aside to talk about Siona, telling him that she was going through a tough time at school. Ji-wook, however, barely registered what she was saying. His mind was still fixated on the Young-min mystery. He asked if she knew Young-min. Jujin said she did, but was unaware of the crime he'd committed. Ji-wook pressed her, asking if Young-min ever wore glasses. After thinking for a moment, Jujin said with certainty that she had never seen him wear a pair. At that moment, Ha-young and her crew had cornered Siona again. Ha-young started demanding the money she was owed, but Siona, still broke, had nothing for her. This time, Siona had found the nerve to stand up for herself. She grabbed Ha-young's hand as it was about to slap her and, with new resolve, told the bully she wasn't scared of her anymore. This act of defiance made Ha-young angrier. Siona was slapped so hard that she fell to the ground. Then, Hyun-hup entered, stepping in to defend Siona. She grabbed Ha-young by the collar and, with surprising power, dragged her to the edge of the rooftop. Hyun-hup threatened to jump, causing Ha-young to shake with terror. Now in control, Hyun-hup delivered a warning: never mess with her or Siona again. Ha-young, seeing her life was at risk, had no option but to agree. Even though she was rescued, Siona wasn't thrilled with Hyun-hup's intervention but was still grateful for the help. After his talk with Jujin, Ji-wook headed to a bar near Young-min's murder scene and learned that Young-min used to be a regular. He went up to the bartender and started asking questions. The bartender remembered him as a weird dude. At first, Young-min was a quiet guy who would drink by himself. But then one day, he showed up wearing glasses and started a strange ritual of counting numbers in the air. This behavior once got him punched in the face by another customer. That evening, Siona was getting home when she saw Ha-young in the distance. She decided to tail her. What she saw next gave her satisfaction. Ha-young was meeting Mr. Sung-jin in front of a love hotel. Siona wasn't about to let this opportunity slip by. She took out her phone and snapped several pictures of the two of them, getting the evidence she needed to blackmail the bully. With a smirk, she sent the photos to Ha-young, letting her know she held the advantage. She felt a sense of power, believing she had the leverage to fight back. Ha-young, however, wasn't scared. As a minor, she knew Mr. Sung-jin was the only one who'd get in trouble. This lack of fear from Ha-young gave Siona a new idea. Since she couldn't intimidate Ha-young, Siona decided to blackmail Mr. Sung-jin instead. She sent him the photo and demanded 20 million won. She had a goal in mind. She was desperate to move out of her uncle's house. She told Hyun-hup that she was fed up with living with Ji-wook and wanted to be independent. Then, she brought up Hyun-hup's mom, asking if she was still alive. Hyun-hup, who had been cut off from her mother, admitted she had no idea. That night, what Siona said stirred something inside Hyun-hup, reminding her of family. From her window, she watched what looked like happy families, imagining how nice it would be to be a part of one. But as she was lost in thought, she couldn't turn off her S-line vision. She noticed how every person in those families was hiding their own affairs and lies from each other. The next day, a terrified Mr. Mr. Sung-jin confronted Ha-young about the photo. He was losing his mind that their secret relationship was out. He accused Ha-young of telling her friends about them. Ha-young, however, kept her cool. She shot back that she was a victim and would never spill their secret. She knew this was all Siona's doing. Siona was on a power trip. Now that she could see the S-lines, she was overflowing with confidence. She was standing up to her bully, but she started becoming a bully herself. She exposed another affair involving a different teacher. Then, she stole one of her bully's boyfriends for herself. This move lit a dangerous fire in Ha-young's eyes. This new persona led Hyun-hup to confront Siona, revealing that she could also see the S-lines. Siona was floored that someone else had this ability and didn't believe her at first, but Hyun-hup proved she wasn't lying. She knew the details, like Ha-young's affair with Mr. Sung-jin and the other teacher's relationship. She could even see the single S-line above Siona's own head. This evidence was enough to convince Siona she was telling the truth. Hyun-hup, figuring Siona was seeing the lines because of glasses, watched as Siona confirmed her suspicion. Having lived with the curse of the S-lines for years, Hyun-hup tried to warn her friend about how dangerous this power could be, but Siona, who was now consumed by her new ability, shot back that this was what she wanted. Later that day, Siona asked Hyun-hup if there was any way to get rid of the S-lines. Hyun-hup explained in a serious tone that an S-line only vanishes when someone dies. When that happens, the person they were connected to also loses that S-line. Meanwhile, Mr. Sung-jin was sitting in his car, a smile spreading across his face as he stared at a picture of himself and Ha-young, planning something. At the same time, Siona was with a boy from her school when her phone buzzed. It was a message from Mr. Sung-jin, saying he had the money and telling her to meet him on the school rooftop. After that, Siona and the boy went into a photo booth, oblivious that someone in a hoodie was following them. As they stepped into the booth, the stalker, Ha-young, watched as Siona put her bag down. Ha-young then snuck in and snatched it. It turned out that Ha-young had overheard Siona and Hyun-hup talking in the school bathroom earlier, and now knew that Siona could see the S-lines by using glasses. This drove her to steal the glasses from Siona's bag. But Ha-young's victory didn't last long. As she was walking through the city, overwhelmed by the sight of S-lines on everyone, someone grabbed her from behind. After leaving the photo booth, Siona realized her glasses were gone. Her first thought was that Hyun-hup must have taken them, but she was wrong. Hyun-hup wasn't the one who did it. Siona then told Hyun-hup that she was heading to the school that night, a confession that made Hyun-hup feel like something terrible was about to happen. After that call, Hyun-hup went after Siona, hoping her friend would be okay. Siona, however, had already made it to the rooftop and was confronting Mr. Sung-jin. He begged her to drop it and promised he would do anything she wanted if she would delete the photo. But Siona refused. She was sick of the teachers who always looked the other way while Ha-young bullied her, all because they were scared of Ha-young's boyfriend's father, who was an important person for the school. A moment later, Mr. Sung-jin got a text from his wife, revealing that she had also been sent the photo. This was the last straw. Furious, he spun around to face Siona, accusing her of sending the photo to his wife. He shoved Siona towards the edge of the wall. Just as Hyun-hup arrived at the school, she looked up and witnessed the horrifying sight of Siona falling from the rooftop, landing in front of her. The S-line on Siona's head was still there, a sign that she was still alive. Siona was rushed to the hospital for emergency surgery. Shortly after, while Siona was in the operating room, Ji-wook arrived and asked Hyun-hup what happened. Hyun-hup said that she got to the school and saw Siona falling from the roof. She explained that Siona had told her she was going to the school that night and she was there to meet her. The one thing Hyun-hup was certain of was that Siona's fall was not a suicide. As soon as the news about Siona's incident spread through the school, it turned into chaos. The teachers and staff were in a panic, especially since they knew this would destroy their school's reputation. The dean of studies expressed his disappointment, which got on the other teachers' nerves, leading to heated arguments. In the middle of the commotion, a staff member wearing glasses dropped her things, and the music teacher came over to help her. While the news of Siona's fall was sending ripples through the school, the English teacher, Mr. Kim, was dealing with a personal crisis. His wedding had just been called off for an unstated reason. This made him decide to move to Canada. Before he left, he decided to crash at his sister's place. While they were talking, he asked about his brother-in-law, Byung-cheol, but his sister said that Byung-cheol was out for work and was so busy that they probably wouldn't get a chance to meet. Meanwhile, Hyun-hup was shocked and heartbroken over what happened to Siona. Convinced that Siona didn't jump, Hyun-hup went to the rooftop to look for clues. There, she ran into Kyung-jin, a student from another class. She stated that she believed Siona was pushed and that she felt Ha-young was involved, especially since Ha-young hadn't shown up for school. As they were walking down a hallway, they passed Jun-seon, a student from Hyun-hup's class who was wearing glasses. Still obsessed with finding Siona's missing glasses, Hyun-hup stopped him, snatched the glasses off his face, and put them on, hoping they were the ones she was searching for. In the teacher's office, Mr. Kim was cleaning out his desk when he found a pair of glasses, the same kind Siona had been using. He asked Jujin if they were hers. Jujin looked at them and said they weren't. Instead, she commented that they must be Mr. Kim's and that they looked good on him. Flattered, Mr. Kim decided to put them on. The second the glasses were on his face, he froze. He was suddenly seeing red S-lines coming from people's heads. A moment later, Ji-wook walked in, and Mr. Kim saw him covered in hundreds of the red lines. Overwhelmed, a stunned Mr. Kim ripped the glasses off his face. Ji-wook was there to find out what happened to his niece. Jujin offered her sympathies, assuming it was a suicide attempt, and blamed herself for not paying closer attention. Ji-wook, however, made it clear that it hadn't been confirmed as a suicide attempt. He then asked about the student who had been bullying Siona. Jujin told him that Ha-young had been a no-show since the incident. Hearing this, Ji-wook asked about another student, a boy he recognized from a photo in Siona's handbag. Jujin then set up a meeting with the student. Ji-wook went to the male student and asked him about his relationship with Siona. The student admitted that it was nothing serious. He knew she liked him and just went along with it, finding her transformation from a bullied kid to a popular girl interesting. He also remembered that on his last date with Siona, she seemed anxious and like she was missing something, but he didn't know what it was. When he got back to the office, Ji-wook decided to check the CCTV footage from near the photo booth. On the screen, he saw Ha-young taking Siona's handbag. He then pulled up another CCTV feed and found Ha-young, now wearing a pair of glasses that Ji-wook recognized as the ones Siona had been wearing. He tracked her movements until he saw her disappear into a dark alley where the trail went cold. Meanwhile, Mr. Kim was having dinner with his sister and her husband, Byung-cheol. This time, knowing what the S-lines meant, he saw the red lines connecting his brother-in-law to other people and knew that Byung-cheol was cheating on his sister. After an attempt to cut through the awkward silence, Byung-cheol brought up Mr. Kim's cancelled wedding. Even though his wife tried to shut him down, Byung-cheol kept pushing. Mr. Kim answered that he had found out his girlfriend was having an affair. This news shocked both of them. After dinner, Mr. Kim and Byung-cheol went outside. As they took the elevator down, they passed the 4th floor, and Mr. Kim saw the red line on Byung-cheol's head, connecting to someone on that floor. He kept his mouth shut, deciding to just watch. They sat outside to have a cigarette, and Byung-cheol mentioned that he should keep in better touch with his sister. When they went back inside and got in the elevator, Mr. Kim saw Byung-cheol press the button for the 4th floor, where the person connected to Byung-cheol lived. Overcome with curiosity, when Byung-cheol wasn't looking, Mr. Kim pressed the button again. But when the elevator doors opened on that floor, Byung-cheol stopped him, saying they were not getting off there. On another front, Ji-wook was getting heat from his boss after he found out Ji-wook was investigating his own niece's case. He was told to drop it to protect the school's reputation, but Ji-wook refused, determined to get justice. So far, his investigation hadn't led to any breakthroughs. He still couldn't get into his niece's phone to look for clues. The next day, Mr. Kim found a package in front of his sister's apartment that had been delivered to the wrong address. Seeing it was for a room on the 4th floor, he decided he would return it to the owner and use it as an excuse to figure out who Byung-cheol was cheating with. He walked up to the door, but at the last second, he chickened out and started to walk away. Before he left, he managed to figure out the name of the woman who lived there. To be sure, he glanced at the mail for that apartment and saw that her name was Chai-rin. Some other day, after a pilgrimage to honor their mother, Mr. Kim asked his sister about Byung-cheol, who was absent for the ceremony. His sister explained that Byung-cheol was out for work. This only strengthened Mr. Kim's suspicion that Byung-cheol was cheating. His sister instead brought up Mr. Kim's cancelled marriage, mistakenly believing his girlfriend's parents didn't bless their relationship because they were parentless. Mr. Kim denied it, correcting her that it was because of the cheating. The betrayal hurt him deeply, as it reminded him of how their own father had cheated on their mother, creating a cycle of betrayal. The photo of Ha-young and Mr. Sung-jin's illicit relationship leaked to the school, stunning the student body and staff. On the other hand, Mr. Sung-jin was found dead in his car from an apparent suicide. At the crime scene, Ji-wook found a will. They also found out Mr. Sung-jin had been deceased for at least 3 days. However, Ji-wook didn't believe the suicide theory, finding it strange he wasn't discovered sooner. Still not giving up on his niece's case, Ji-wook went to her school to find Hyun-hup, as she was close to Siona. He asked why Siona returned to school that night, but Hyun-hup answered with a question about Siona's glasses. Upon hearing the word glasses, Ji-wook noticed something significant and asked what Hyun-hup knew. Hyun-hup refused to answer answer until he found the glasses. On the other hand, Mr. Kim saw Byung-cheol on the street and took a taxi to follow his car. This led him to a hotel, where he saw Byung-cheol with Chai-rin, the woman he suspected as his mistress. He watched as Byung-cheol gave her an expensive necklace. Mr. Kim then called Byung-cheol, who lied about his location. After they returned to their room, Mr. Kim confronted him, threatening to tell his sister and force him to end the affair. Byung-cheol begged Mr. Kim to let him finish what he had started. The next day, Mr. Kim, ready for his journey to Canada, bid goodbye to his sister. He asked if Byung-cheol had called, but he hadn't. Later at school, Mr. Kim looked at Chai-rin's social media and saw she announced her pregnancy. This news snapped something in Mr. Kim, and he rushed back to his sister's apartment to confront Byung-cheol. When he arrived, he found his sister trying to hit Chai-rin's car with her own. Soon after, Byung-cheol returned and hugged Chai-rin in front of Mr. Kim and his wife. Mr. Kim lost control and beat Byung-cheol, demanding an explanation. His sister intervened and stopped him. Only after Byung-cheol and Chai-rin left, his sister dropped the bombshell. Chai-rin was Byung-cheol's real wife. Byung-cheol wasn't his brother-in-law. His sister was Byung-cheol's mistress. On the other hand, Ji-wook had noticed new evidence in his niece's case. He approached Hyun-hup, asking about the glasses and the mysterious S-line phenomenon. Hyun-hup finally came clean. She explained that the S-line, a red line visible on people's heads after using the glasses, represented a connection between individuals who had sexual intercourse. She also revealed she had been able to see these lines since birth. Ji-wook couldn't fully believe her, but given the strange cases popping up, he couldn't ignore her testimony. The next day at school, Mei-sung, a staff member who wore glasses, was called in by the dean for a mistake in her report. As she sat with the dean, Mei-sung was also able to see the S-lines and observed that the dean didn't have any. She returned to her desk and manically played with a stapler. Later, during lunch, Mei-sung declared she wanted to be an actress. Soon after, the music teacher, Mr. Park, passed by, and Mei-sung's attention shifted to him, revealing her crush. Later that day, a mysterious woman in a red dress with pink hair was seen at a hotel. Meanwhile, Ji-wook and Dong-sik were busy with Seona's case. They initially suspected Mr. Sung-jin, but his family stated he had a severe fear of heights, giving him an alibi. Ji-wook cautiously told Dong-sik about Seona's glasses and the S-line phenomenon, but Dong-sik didn't believe him. Later, it was revealed that Hyun-hup had a part-time job as a hotel receptionist. Kyung-jin and Jun-seon came to visit her, and in the cramped office, Kyung-jin pushed Hyun-hup closer to Jun-seon, who had a crush on her. Soon after, the woman with pink hair asked for room 206. Kyung-jin recognized her. In her room, the pink-haired woman began a monologue about having sex with many men before meeting someone special. Later that day, Hyun-hup and her friends saw the pink-haired woman from the rooftop. Kyung-jin recognized her as Mei-sung. Kyung-jin was correct. After leaving the hotel, the woman returned to her apartment and removed her pink wig, revealing she was Mei-sung. Meanwhile, Ji-wook was scanning case files related to the S-line phenomenon. He went to the hospital to meet with Hyun-hup and asked if there was an S-line on Seona's head. Hyun-hup confirmed there was a single S-line, but she didn't know where it led, only that it wasn't connected to the boy Seona had been seeing. Later that night, Hyun-hup saw a news report about another murder where the perpetrator wore glasses, reminding her of Ji-wook's question about more than one pair existing. The next day at school, Mei-sung found Mr. Park in the music classroom. They spoke, and Mr. Park complimented her expressive abilities, guessing she wanted to be an actress. Mei-sung was delighted, but her smile faltered when she saw a single red line on Mr. Park's head. After school, Jun-seon asked Hyun-hup to go with him. He took her to the school's swimming pool. He asked if she could swim, and she said no. Yet, she jumped into the pool and remained submerged, looking calm while Jun-seon panicked. He jumped in and pulled her out, only for her to laugh. After getting out, Jun-seon offered Hyun-hup his sweater, a gesture that sparked something in her. She confessed she enjoyed being underwater and revealed she could see red lines on people's heads. Jun-seon chose to believe her, and they grew closer. On the other hand, Ji-wook returned to the office. Dong-sik teased him about seeing someone, and Ji-wook confessed there was someone he was thinking of, secretly picturing Jujin. The next day, Mei-sung returned to the hotel and asked for room 206. Later, while doing room service, Hyun-hup overheard Mei-sung practicing her monologue. This time, she added new details: her ambition, finding the glasses, her new power, and watching a patron in the next room through a hole in the wall. Shortly after, Mei-sung heard the room next door unlock and peeked through the hole. She was shocked to see it was Mr. Park. Another person, a woman entered the room. The S-line on their heads was connected, revealing they were partners. As they began, Mei-sung listened with jealousy. After the woman left, Mei-sung extended her stay. The next day, when the woman returned, Mei-sung attacked her, tied her up, and stole her clothes. She then went to Mr. Park's room. He was surprised to see her acting unhinged and shouting her monologue. Mr. Park rejected her and called her crazy. As he turned to leave, Mei-sung threw a stapler at him, and he fell to the floor, paralyzed. She dragged him to the bed and kissed him as blood gushed from his head. Mr. Park regained consciousness briefly before the red line on his head vanished and he died. Devastated, Mei-sung retreated to the bathtub and began stapling herself repeatedly while repeating her monologue. Meanwhile, Hyun-hup was doing room service when she saw the tied-up woman come out of Mei-sung's room. Hyun-hup then checked room 205 and found Mr. Park's dead body. Ji-wook soon arrived to investigate. They found Mei-sung dead in the bathtub, her body covered in staples. He asked if anyone had found glasses, but they hadn't. Ji-wook went to see Hyun-hup for her testimony. Hyun-hup explained she saw a single S-line on Mei-sung's head, but it wasn't connected to Mr. Park's. She noted that Mei-sung wore glasses at school but not at the hotel, until she was found dead. Hyun-hup stated the glasses were dangerous and made the wearer feel special. Later, Hyun-hup's words replayed in Ji-wook's mind. He decided to check the crime scene again. This time, he drained the bathtub and found the glasses. Out of curiosity, he put them on. The truth was revealed to him. He could see the red lines Hyun-hup had described and saw hundreds of them coming from his own head. After getting the glasses that let him see the S-line, Ji-wook returned to his office. He sat observing everyone's red lines, discovering things like a colleague's secret relationship and the fact that his friend, Dong-sik, only had 2 S-lines sprouting from his head, unlike his own countless ones. Seeing Ji-wook's new glasses and odd behavior, which he thought was like a suspect scrutinizing people, Dong-sik asked what was wrong with him. Before Ji-wook could answer, a high school student with 4 S-lines on her head appeared. Dong-sik recognized that she was from the same school as Seona, Ji-wook's niece who was in a coma after falling from the school rooftop. Later that day, Ji-wook brought a male student from Seona's school, Ji-won, to her hospital room. Ji-wook's reason was to make sure that Ji-won wasn't the one with an S-line connected to Seona. After confirming he wasn't, Ji-wook asked him if he knew Seona's boyfriend. Ji-won recalled that Seona had once mentioned someone she hated, giving Ji-wook a new clue. Meanwhile, Hyun-hup, who can see S-lines without glasses, was chatting with her friend Kyung-jin about a birthday party. She then got a message from her class rep, Jun Seon, asking to meet her alone before the party. As she smiled at his message, another one came from an unknown number, the same one who previously claimed to know about the S-line world she saw, also asking to meet before the party. The next day at school, the same girl who had visited the police office, Jina, showed up. One of Hyun-hup's classmates had a brief chat with her, noting that Jina seemed more down than usual. At the office, Dong-sik informed Ji-wook that they had received a report of a harassment case from Seona's high school. They watched as a female detective interrogated the student, who turned out to be Jina. Jina tearfully explained that a senior student had invited her for a drink. She reluctantly agreed, but soon got drunk and fainted. When she woke up, her clothes were off and the student was gone. When the detective asked if it was her first time in an intimate encounter, she said it was. Ji-wook, wearing his glasses, saw the 4 S-lines on her head and immediately knew she was lying. The next day, Ji-wook and Dong-sik went to the high school to investigate the student Jina had mentioned. They were met by Gu-jin, Seona's homeroom teacher, who recognized Ji-wook. After complimenting his glasses, she asked what they were looking for. Ji-wook asked about his suspect, a male student and former idol trainee named Han-yu. During interrogation, Ji-wook asked Han-yu about his relationship with Jina and the drinking party. Han-yu didn't deny any of it. He admitted knowing Jina and hosting a party at his apartment due to stress from his studies, though he said he wasn't the one who proposed it. After this, Ji-wook informed him that he was a prime suspect in a sexual harassment case. Han-yu just nodded without panicking. As Ji-wook and Dong-sik were leaving, Hyun-hup spotted them. She confronted Ji-wook, realizing he now had the glasses that could reveal the S-lines, which she considered dangerous. She demanded he hand them over, but Ji-wook refused, saying the glasses were a crucial tool for his cases and for finding information about his niece. To persuade him, Hyun-hup brought up Seona's incident and how recent cases seemed linked to the glasses. She even tried to snatch them, but he refused again. Their argument drew the attention of the teacher, Gu-jin. Ji-wook, flustered, said Hyun-hup was his neighbor, then awkwardly asked Gu-jin to dinner and quickly left, blushing. As he walked away, Gu-jin wore a strange smile. It turned out she could also see S-lines without any glasses. Later, Ji-wook and Dong-sik visited the company where Han-yu and Jina were idol trainees. They were told that Jina was not a talented trainee and was a bad influence who would lure others into drinking with boys and skipping skipping training. Leaving the company, Dong-sik expressed his frustration, noting the case was difficult because both the victim and suspect were underage trainees and public figures, and he was sure either Jina or the company had falsified their testimony. Out of the blue, Dong-sik asked Ji-wook if he had a crush on Kyujin. Ji-wook denied it. Dong-sik conducted another interrogation with Han-yu and asked to see his messages with Jina. The messages clearly showed that Jina had initiated the meeting, suggested staying at his place, and proposed they have a drink. In another room, Ji-wook interrogated Jina, who was accompanied by her mother, and she insisted she had been sexually violated. Suddenly, Ji-wook got a message from Dong-sik saying he would let Han-yu leave. Ji-wook opened his door, and as Han-yu walked past, he confirmed it. The single S-line on Han-yu's head was not connected to Jina. This proved Jina was falsely accusing him. Armed with this evidence, he asked Jina again if she had been sexually harassed. This time, she was reluctant to say anything, confirming she had been lying. That evening, Ji-wook found Hyun-hup waiting for him. She examined his glasses and confirmed they were what she was looking for. Ji-wook then gave her a photo of her and her mother, explaining that he had looked into her parents' case and what happened wasn't her fault. He asked if she wanted to see her mother, but Hyun-hup was reluctant, believing her mother must have died. Ji-wook countered that perhaps there was a deeper reason, a reason that, like his glasses, could save someone's life. He then brought up Jina, explaining he suspected she was lying about the assault because she had 4 S-lines. Hyun-hup knew about the report but said Jina wasn't lying about an incident, because a week ago, she hadn't had a single S-line. Upon hearing this, Ji-wook called Dong-sik, telling him not to hand over the case and to demand another investigation. They went to Han-yu's spotless apartment to investigate. Han-yu said he hadn't kept the empty wine bottle. Meanwhile, Hyun-hup returned to the hotel where her music teacher was murdered. As she entered, she recalled her conversation with Ji-wook about the glasses. She believed someone deliberately left them for him, but Ji-wook had questioned how anyone could have known he'd returned to the crime scene. Inside the room, she was shocked when Jun-seon appeared. He said he saw her entering and followed her. Hyun-hup reminded him of her power to see S-lines and was about to tell him she could see something on his head, but he recoiled in fear and hugged her. This led to a romantic moment and they kissed. The next morning, Ji-wook and Dong-sik found a strange plastic bag in the trash near Han-yu's building. Inside was the bedsheet from his apartment. Ji-wook believed it was trash to remove evidence, but this was confusing, as he knew Han-yu hadn't assaulted Jina. Han-yu was called in again and calmly explained that he threw the sheet away because he's a clean freak and didn't want to use a sheet someone else had slept on. Dong-sik confronted him about Jina's blood being on the sheet, but Han-yu suggested it was from her period or a nosebleed. At that point, Ji-wook stepped in, saying he believed Han-yu wasn't the suspect. Han-yu then revealed that he never liked Jina, but she constantly wanted to come to his apartment, so he finally let her. They had a drink, and Jina got completely drunk. When she finished the bottle, Han-yu went to a nearby convenience store to buy cheap beer. After he returned and gave her the beer, she fainted. Ji-wook pressed him on how he bought beer underage, and Han-yu stated the store hadn't checked his ID. After the interrogation, Ji-wook and Dong-sik checked the CCTV footage near the apartment building. He knew Jina had 4 S-lines and believed this meant 4 people had assaulted her. When he saw a group of 4 boys walking near the apartment, he checked their S-lines when they arrived versus when they left. His hunch was correct. The 4 boys each had an extra S-line when they left. He realized they were the perpetrators he was looking for. So, Hyun-hup figured out who the culprits were after she saw 4 guys from her school, and each one had an S-line connecting them to Jina. She called Ji-wook, but he was already there and had pieced it together himself. The school called the boys into the office to question them one by one. One of the boys was really on edge, and Ji-wook saw this as his chance to make him crack. He took the kid to the crime scene, pretended the cops knew exactly what he'd done, and totally freaked him out. The boy tried to bolt, but they caught him pretty fast. When the boy asked what happened to his friends, Ji-wook lied and said the police let them go home because they weren't suspects. He made it seem like the boy was the only one in trouble. Thinking his friends had totally bailed on him, the boy confessed. He admitted he was involved but said he wasn't the only one. His friends were in on it too, and Han-yu was the one who planned the whole thing. This was all a trick, though. His friends were still back at the office and had already confessed. Ji-wook used the boy's confession to go after Han-yu. In the interrogation room, Ji-wook showed Han-yu a little bottle of sleeping drugs that they found in his room. Han-yu denied it was his and said he never used it on Jina. But then Ji-wook revealed that he knew Han-yu had manipulated the 4 other boys into assaulting Jina. Han-yu just broke down and admitted what he did. Later, Ji-wook was driving with Hyun-hup when he got a call from the nursing home where his dad was staying. The second he saw the caller ID, he dropped Hyun-hup at a bus stop and rushed over. His dad was gone. The security cameras showed a woman taking him out, and the woman turned out to be Gyujin, the homeroom teacher for both Siona and Hyun-hup. Then Ji-wook got a text with a picture of Siona in her hospital bed. He raced over to check on her and called his friend Dong-sik to start looking into Gyujin. When he got to the hospital, Siona was sleeping sleeping and seemed fine. But then Ji-wook saw a single S-line on her head that led to the door. Just then, his father appeared, and he had an S-line connecting him right to Siona. This meant his own father had slept with her. Ji-wook couldn't believe it and started demanding to know what his dad had done. Meanwhile, Hyun-hup was sitting on some stairs with blood on her hands, crying and looking terrified. She called someone. At the same time, in a cafe, a woman working as a barista got a video. It showed her partner cheating on her. She started crying. Then, a college student showed up for her class and got the exact same video. It was her in the video, and she was being blackmailed with it. Later, the barista, still heartbroken, closed up the cafe. She walked out towards the street right into traffic, trying to kill herself, but Eugene pulled her back just in time. Inside the cafe, Eugene gave her a pair of glasses that let you see S-lines, claiming she just found them nearby. This is when it's revealed that Eugene was the one giving these glasses out to specific people. That night, after Ji-wook had dropped her off, Hyun-hup met up with Junseon. She had planned the whole thing and asked him to go with her to a love hotel. She wanted her very first S-line to be with him, the boy she really liked. Junseon was a little hesitant, but she convinced him. They had sex, which created a single S-line between them. After they left, Junseon said he was going to get food and told her to wait. Hyun-hup caught her reflection and saw the S-line. But then it suddenly disappeared, which meant that Junseon was dead. She heard a scream and found him impaled on some iron rods, bleeding everywhere. She had a flashback to her mother killing her father and started blaming herself, thinking she was cursed. That's why her hands were bloody. As she was sitting on the stairs, she got a video of Kyung-jin tied to a chair with her mouth taped shut, screaming. Hyun-hup called Ji-wook. They met up, and she told him everything. Ji-wook told her what happened with Siona. Hyun-hup said someone had been sending her messages about S-lines, including the video of Kyung-jin being kidnapped. She thought that this person was behind everything, including what happened with Siona and Ji-wook's dad. Ji-wook remembered Eugene's face from the security camera footage. They headed to the school, thinking that's where Kyung-jin was being held. Hyun-hup went to look for Kyung-jin, while Ji-wook looked for Eugene. Hyun-hup found Kyung-jin and asked her why she was at school. Kyung-jin said she got a text from Hyun-hup asking to meet, but Hyun-hup never sent it. They realized Ji-wook was in danger and went to warn him. But when they tried to go downstairs, they just kept ending up back on the same floor. Since they couldn't get down, they went up to the rooftop. Ji-wook found a weird door and went into a dark room filled with women in matching dresses. One woman was holding a knife and facing a man on a table. It was the barista from the cafe. After Eugene gave her the glasses, she had been killing all the men connected to her by S-lines. This guy was the last one. He begged for his life, but she chopped his head off. Ji-wook then saw Eugene, who now had tons of S-lines on her head, way more than he did. She showed him another person tied to a table, Ji-wook's father. Eugene handed Ji-wook a knife and told him to kill his father to save Siona. Ji-wook hesitated for a moment, then went after Eugene instead. But she was way too strong and just threw him aside. Then she killed his father herself. Ji-wook told her to drop the knife, but she just came toward him. He pulled out his gun, but the bullet just bounced off her. She grabbed him by the throat and held him up in the air. Ji-wook screamed at her, blaming her for what happened to his niece. Up on the rooftop, Kyung-jin was now wearing a pair of the glasses. She told Hyun-hup she finally understood her world. She asked if you can see the red lines without the glasses after you die, saying that Eugene had told her that. This revealed that Eugene was the one who started the whole S-line thing. Hyun-hup fought with Kyung-jin, who started choking her. Hyun-hup realized the glasses were making her do it, so she ripped them off her face and threw them. Kyung-jin scrambled to get them, but Hyun-hup stopped her and stomped on the glasses, breaking them. Kyung-jin shrieked but then snapped back to her normal self, all confused. She noticed a scratch on Hyun-hup's face and saw her eyes changing color. Blood from the cut started floating upwards. All of a sudden, Hyun-hup was in that creepy room with Eugene and Ji-wook. She confronted Eugene, blaming her for all the chaos and the curse. Eugene said it wasn't a curse, it was a blessing. She said Hyun-hup was born with this power specifically for this day, to help Eugene's own power reach its peak. Eugene revealed that she was basically born from a human's desire to see S-lines and know everyone's secrets. People started to circle them, trapping Hyun-hup and Eugene. Eugene came at Hyun-hup with a knife to kill her and awaken her power. But someone jumped in front of Hyun-hup and took the knife instead. It was Hyun-hup's mother. She said she was sorry for being late. She explained that she had a pair of the glasses back in the day and found out about her husband's affair. She told Hyun-hup she was sorry for letting her blame herself all these years. It wasn't her fault. And then she died. Furious, Hyun-hup attacked Eugene but got stabbed herself. Her blood floated up, which awakened Eugene's ultimate power. power to make everyone in the world see S-lines. A scratch appeared on Gyujin's cheek. Hyun-Hup then stabbed Gyujin in the stomach. Gyujin just smiled and said it was too late. Her power was already unleashed. Then she died. Everyone started panicking and running. Hyun-Hup and Ji-wook found themselves back on the rooftop. Hyung-jin walked over, asking what just happened. The whole world was in chaos because now everyone could see S-lines. The sky had turned red. A year later, things have calmed down and people have gotten used to living with S-lines. Hyun-Hup felt normal again since she was no longer the only one who could see them. Siona got better and her relationship with Ji-wook improved. Hyun-Hup was visiting Junseon's grave when Gyujin suddenly appeared behind her. With this, the story comes to an end. So if you enjoyed this recap, then what are you waiting for? Don't forget to hype the video and subscribe. It'll mean a lot and it'll help the recap reach more people.